Which of your accounts are costing you the most? It's not the difficult ones. It's not the ones that cause you problems. It's almost certainly the ones you most look forward to visiting. The comfortable ones. The easy ones. The ones where the relationship is warm and the time flies. I've spent over 30 years in field sales, as an account manager, as a sales manager, and as sales director leading full commercial teams. And the most consistent thing I've seen hold good salespeople back isn't effort, and it isn't product knowledge. It's leaving your most important accounts exposed. Because while you're doing the rounds, giving everyone the same share of your time, a competitor is deciding which of your best accounts are worth going after. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why that happens, what it's already costing you, and the question you need to ask about your own patch. The salespeople this happens to are rarely the careless ones. They're usually the ones who take the job seriously, and that's exactly what makes it so hard to spot. Most field salespeople are carrying more accounts than they can cover properly. When you're stretched across 60, 80, 100 accounts and trying to see everyone on a sensible cycle, you need some way to decide who gets your time and energy. And what most people land on, usually without consciously deciding it, is the relationship. The customers you get on well with, the ones who are always pleased to see you, who ask how things are going, who make the visit feel like time well spent. That feels like the right instinct. Relationships do matter in sales. You've been told that your whole career, and it's true. So the accounts where the relationship is warmest feels like the natural ones to protect. But nurturing your friendliest accounts because they feel important is a bit like watering the plants you like most. The ones in the corner that never flower still get the same treatment as the ones producing fruit. It feels obvious and it feels fair, but the whole time the garden isn't growing the way it should. Because the relationship is the means, not the point. The only thing that should determine the amount of time an account gets is what it actually contributes to your number and what its potential ceiling is. A difficult buyer running a significant account will always be worth more of your time than a friendly buyer running a small one, no matter how much easier the latter is to visit. The thing is, most salespeople doing this aren't aware they're doing it. They have a system. It feels professional, and from the inside, it looks a lot like good management. I worked with a senior area manager at a large company, experienced, conscientious, someone who genuinely cared about doing the job well. When I asked him how he managed his time across his patch, he told me exactly how he approached it. He said,
I treat all of my customers the same. They're all important and they all deserve the same level of service.
He meant it. He was on a 6 to 8 week cycle, seeing every account at roughly the same frequency, giving everyone the same standard of attention. In his mind, that was professionalism. That was fairness. That was how you built a strong territory. What he hadn't considered was what was happening in the accounts he wasn't in. Specifically the ones that mattered most. Because while he was spreading himself evenly across his patch, his competitors weren't doing the same. They weren't trying to win all of his accounts. They were looking at his territory in a way a chess player looks at a board, trying to identify the pieces worth taking and focusing there. Equal treatment doesn't protect your best accounts. It leaves them exposed. The accounts driving the bulk of your revenue deserve more of your time, more of your preparation, more of your thinking. Not because the smaller accounts don't matter, they do, but because losing a small account and losing a large one are not the same event. And your competitors have already worked that out. Here's something worth sitting with. Somewhere, right now, a sales manager at one of your competitors is having a planning meeting with their team. And in that meeting, they're looking at the market. Which accounts exist, which ones they're worth going after, where the revenue's concentrated. They're not trying to win everything. They don't have the time or the resource for that. So they're making a list of the accounts that would actually move the needle. And I can tell you from experience, having sat in those meetings on both sides of the table, that list is never random. It's the biggest, most valuable accounts in the territory. Your competitor isn't coming for your whole patch. They're coming for the part of it that matters. And the gap they're walking through isn't a product gap or a relationship gap. It's a frequency gap. While you're giving your best accounts the same level of attention as the ones worth a tenth of their value, a competitor with half your charm but twice your focus is starting to make ground. The accounts you can least afford to lose are the ones being targeted the most. Everyone in a sales planning meeting knows this. The only person who sometimes doesn't know it is the one who's responsible for defending them. So here's where most people get stuck. Because by this point in the conversation, the logic is clear. The principle makes sense, but there's a resistance that comes up almost every time, and it's worth naming directly. The accounts you'd need to deprioritise, the smaller ones, the friendly ones, the ones you've been visiting for years, those aren't just entries on a spreadsheet. They're people you have a real relationship with, and cutting back the time you spend with them feels wrong. It feels like you're letting them down. When I had this conversation with salespeople over the years, the first reaction is rarely insight. It's irritation. They feel like I'm asking them to be less professional. The relationships are the thing they're most proud of. And here's someone suggesting that they're actually part of the problem. But the thing is, you don't deprioritise a small account because you don't value the relationship. You do it because your time is a finite resource. And every hour you spend in a low-value account is an hour you're not spending defending the ones your number depends on. Being fair to all of your accounts sounds like the right thing to do, but fairness isn't the job. Results are the job. And when you're giving equal time to unequal accounts, you're not being fair to everyone because you're being unfair from the ones who earn the most from you. Your time isn't something your accounts are entitled to equally. It's a resource you allocate based on what the numbers justify. The sooner that shift happens, the better protected your best accounts become. Every salesperson watching this has accounts they spend too much time with. Not because those accounts demand it, not because the numbers justify it, but because the relationship is comfortable. The visit is easy, and comfortable and easy are hard to argue with when your diary is already full. And every salesperson watching this has accounts on the other end of the list. The ones carrying a disproportionate share of the revenue. The ones your competitors have already identified. The ones that are currently getting the same slice of your time as everyone else, which means by definition, not enough. The question isn't whether this is happening on your patch, it almost certainly is. The question is which accounts are on which side of that line. So take a look at your territory, not at the relationships, at the numbers. Which accounts are actually driving your revenue? And when you compare that list against where your time is going, does the diary reflect the value? Or does it reflect who you like spending time with? That's the question worth sitting with because the answer is where the work starts. The effort was never the problem. The direction was. And the direction starts with knowing which accounts deserve the most from you. Not because of how the relationship feels, but because of what the numbers say. If you want to start answering that question about your own patch, there's a free guide in the description. It's called Where Your Sales Time Is Actually Going. It's a diagnostic that helps you see exactly how your time maps against your territory so you can start making that shift right now.